Good evening and welcome to the Money Show, your weekly guide to mastering personal finance and building a more secure tomorrow. I'm your host, Kavita Thapliyal, and finances can feel complex, managing debt, planning for retirement, understanding markets, even founding wealth, building habits. But here on the Money Show, we simplify it all. From debt management and savings to savvy investing and risk planning, behavioral insights, we leave no topic untouched. Whether you're curious about creating an emergency fund, navigating rising inflation, or investing in mutual funds and SIPs, we bring voices you can trust, real experts, real stories, and real solutions. Every episode, we demystify one financial challenge and equip you with practical steps to take charge of your money future. Today's episode kicks off with a discussion on divorce and the importance of financial planning. We'll explore actionable strategies you can start using immediately, real-world case studies to learn from, expert insights to make your money work smarter. So all you have to do is just grab your notepad and stay tuned. It's time to take control of your financial destiny together. This show also has a very special feature and a segment where we answer your portfolio queries. Just in case you want to send across your questions, you can do that on a WhatsApp number that's flashing on the screen as well. 865-797-4571 is our WhatsApp number where you can send across your questions. And we also have an email ID, which is themoneyshow@etnow.tv. So that's the show for you today. And let's begin a very important and a very pertinent discussion today. Today we start on a topic that is as sensitive as it is critical. The intersection of divorce and financial planning. Now, recently, the Bombay High Court delivered a landmark judgment in the case of SKPS versus PSS, affirming that working wife cannot be denied maintenance merely because she earns. Now, we can say that despite earning around 18 to 19,000 a month, the court. The court clearly over here said that, the court acknowledged, in fact, that her income was grossly inadequate to maintain the standard of living she had during the marriage. Now, the judge also emphasized on the fact that she needs to be given most financial support from the husband's side, and the disparity, the husband earning over 1 lakh per month and his father receiving 28,000 pension. As a result, the court upheld the family court order requiring 15,000 monthly maintenance. Now, why does this matter to you is a very big question that must be, crossing around your mind. We will also flash some graphics on the screen talking about the case. Now, in moments of the personal crisis like divorce, being financially unprepared is not just stressful, it can also impact your dignity, your lifestyle, and your future security. In this discussion, we'll explore what exactly did the court rule and why it matters to a working woman. How should you plan economically for such situations, whether married or single? And what steps can you take today? Insurance, savings, legal knowledge to stay protected. And what financial lessons can couples learn right from income transparency to joint financial security? This episode isn't just about maintenance, it's about empowering your financial life's uncertainties, because the best financial planning is the one that stands when everything else is falling apart. And yes, a situation like a divorce is one of them. So let's move on, and I have with me Shilpa Bhaskar Gole, founder Nerdy Bird Financial Wellness, Flavia Agnes, women's right lawyer and co-founder of Machlis. Hi, good evening, both of you. Flavia, I think I'll come to you first because I really want to understand the nitty-gritties, and in fact, in a simple layman language, what is this kind of a judgment trying to signal or talk about in terms of alimony, in terms of protecting the wife's right to have that income for maintenance?
What it tries to say is that even after divorce, a woman cannot be forced to reduce the standard of living she was used to in her married life. So,
Huh.
here in this particular case, even if she was earning, there was income disparity between her and the husband. So, hence, the court held that she's entitled to a certain amount of maintenance so that she's on par with her husband. So, this is, according to me, this is not the first time the court has, this is not a precedent. It's been held before that where a woman, even though she's earning, her if the income of her income is not substantial to maintain the same lifestyle as she was used to in her marriage, and that there is income disparity between her and her husband, she is entitled to maintenance. And with this principle, the court granted her maintenance.
All right, very well explained. And now, Shilpa, the question to you is: the court held that even a working wife is entitled to maintenance if her income is insufficient to sustain the standard of living she enjoyed during the marriage. Okay, maintained by 50,000 per month interim support. Now, the question to you over here, Shilpa, is how should families assess the appropriate standard of living in financial plans, especially when spouse incomes diverges sharply?
Right. So, thank you for bringing me on the show, Kavita, and I'm glad to be having this conversation with you today. So, now figuring out the standard of living. Now, this is a question that definitely is a very important part of your financial planning process. And where we begin is generally to start by understanding the kind of standard of living we've been used to so far. So, what are those expenses that we are typically, akin to meeting? So, those could be your recurring expenses that could cover your bare essentials, like let's say a house rent, your groceries, your utility bills like electricity, water, etc. And there could also be certain non-essential expenses that you've been using, you've been spending on, because these are very, very important to you and they've been a part of your lifestyle so far. Now if there has been an income disparity and there is a spouse who's been earning more so far and you've been drawing an income from your spouse, I think what it's important to see is what is that gap between your income and your spouse's income in terms of the expenses that you have, right? So let's say your expenses are 100 rupees and your salary is only 20 rupees. That 80 rupees of a gap that you're seeing, I think that would be an important starting point, first of all, Kavita. The other important piece is around inflation, like you very rightly, pointed out in the beginning of the show. I think that is a piece that is often neglected, and it's very, very important for us to also take into account that any basket of expenses we're looking at is going to inflate at a certain rate year on year. And is that being also taken into account in this calculation, Kavita?
Very interesting. And Flavia, since you represent this particular domain and this side of the sector, I really want you to help us understand. So, when couples come for counseling to you, how much of a conversation do they have on their financials? Because marriage counseling is important, it's a part of the process as well. And when they are going through this kind of a process, what are the heads, where you ask them to think about or maybe strategize? Because Flavia, this question is also important because things get very complicated if there is a child involved in between. Okay, so how do you take stock of that situation? I mean, I do understand that maintenance for the wife is important, but having said that, when there's a child involved, I think parents, and especially if the wife is also working, if both are working, the situation changes, and I think they both have a certain amount of financial responsibility. It does in that case, the maintenance money from the husband side goes up. What all goes in the counseling part when there is a child involved, Flavia?
In the when the divorce is there or imminent divorce is imminent, then it's not just the sacred tie of marriage that you need to think of, or not even the emotional separation that they go through, but a marriage is also a financial unit. And there's a lot of finances involved here, and according to me, that is primary in all your discussions. So when a couple or when a wife comes to me, first thing I ask her is, what about your finances? How much are you earning? Are you working? How much is your spouse earning? Uh, how is what's the lifestyle you have? How much do you require for your living standard to maintain? And if there are children, then responsibility of children, education of children, children's maintenance, all the other expenses involved with the child, not just education, not just food, but also entertainment, whatever the child needs for growing up, etc. So most of the women have not thought about this. So my first task is to ask the women to think about it, write it down, and come back so that there is a realistic assessment of what the husband is earning and what she is earning, what are expenses, and what she can expect from the court.
Sure, got it. Shilpa, anything that you might want to add in terms of having the right kind of financial planning in this scenario?
So, in such a case, Kavita, especially when there's a child in the picture, one is the recurring expenses that comes with, having a child around at home. So the wife is not only thinking about her own needs, but also the child's needs here financially. So one is the recurring expenses, Kavita, but I think the other piece is around some of the child's lump sum goals that would come in into the future. So as part of this conversation, it's also very important to understand what those goals are. Who's going to be taking care of the child's college education, for example? When the child reaches a marriageable age, who's going to take care of that financing? So I think that's a very, very important part to this, and this is often ignored in the conversation. And the other piece is around insurances. This is just an angle that I wanted to bring in around life insurance. So there's the Married Women's Property Act, the NWP Act, under which any woman and her child, if they are beneficiaries to the husband's life insurance, even after a divorce, the MWP makes sure that she is ring fenced against any financial obligations that her husband has. So I think some of the legal and financial implications around the MWP are very important for the woman to know, and I think she needs to understand what her rights are, both financially and legally.
All right, Shilpa, the second question is for you as well because I want to understand the emergency financial preparedness. Now, in this case, the wife's modest income around 19,000 a month was largely consumed by commuting and basic expenses, leaving her financially vulnerable despite a salary. The question to you is, what financial buffers like emergency savings funds, separate investments, or insurance, just like you highlighted, should individuals or couples maintain to handle sudden life disruptions like these, like a divorce?
So, number one, I would say that when it comes to an emergency fund, what I often find with married couples is that they pool in their emergency fund and keep it together. So, if there are couples who are doing that, I would already say this is not about being divorce ready, but it's about asserting your financial independence and financial security in terms of unforeseen circumstances, which could be anything. It could be beyond a divorce. So, please maintain your emergency funds separately. This doesn't have to be a part of a joint account. There should be some money that both of you can fall back on separately in terms of at least 6 months of essential expenses. The second thing I would say is their health insurance. There is, of course, a family floater that they would have taken as a family. Now, if there is a divorce that is imminent or impending, the important thing to look at is how are you going to now take care of your health insurance cover? So, if it's the wife and the child who are now moving out of the home and there's a legal separation underway, the wife and child need to now start thinking about taking a health insurance policy separately because very soon it's they're going to be separated from that family floater. So this would be another important implication to look at. The third, of course, is life insurance. Now, one is that your life insurance is under the MWP Act, and one is that it isn't. And if it isn't, it also implies that the wife now needs to start thinking about this young child with her. So if there is a child in custody and the child is financially dependent on her, I think that brings in altogether another angle. So she needs to look at her life also being covered with a term life insurance cover. And of course, then she needs to look at the MWP and also explore to see if that is something that her husband has taken. So I would say, your emergency fund, health insurance, life insurance. I would like to bring in another angle, which is around estate planning, Kavita, and this is not spoken about. So one is around the will. Please remember that a will supersedes everything, even a divorce. So in a will, if your husband is still listed as one of the beneficiaries, it's very important for you to go and change that. And if you don't have a will, please do understand what the Hindu Succession Act says about your inheritance, your assets, your stridhan. So that's also an angle that is very important to understand. So make sure that you're well aware of what your legal rights around succession are, around your property, your assets, and anything that belongs to you in terms of stridhan.
Very important. And Flavia, I would like you to elaborate on this now, considering or adding the financial disparity part. Flavia, also in this case, the husband's actual income was clarified via salary slip to exceed 1 lakh per month. His claim of lower income and family obligation was definitely, it was not substantiated. Now, taking Shilpa's point ahead, how can couples proactively assess income disparities to ensure financial planning and future maintenance obligations now?
Most of the time, the wife is not aware of her husband's actual earnings. And that is
Exactly.
where
Yeah.
the problem lies.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if she's earning, and he's aware of what she's earning usually, and she spent part of it in the household, and her savings are very, very little. But she doesn't have the same right over his income, or not even the right, but even the right to know his income, because many times this is hidden from her, and it is also in the time of divorce diverted to the mother or brother, etc., so that he can show that he does not have any savings, he does not have any income. And during the marriage, women are not concerned about finding these details. Many times women come and they don't even know husband's bank accounts, his insurance, his savings, where he has invested his money, his shares. All this information is not there. Only when you alert them, then they start finding out. But even then, it is highly inadequate. So my first advice to women, to all married women, even to those whose marriages are stable, they're not thinking of divorce, etc., to be aware, of both of them, to be aware of each other's income, and also their plans for the savings, for their acquiring estates, whose name those properties are, and also their mode of succession. I think these are very important indicators which women need to take cognizance of, and handle it wisely, so that they are not left in the lurch at the time of divorce.
All right. Flavia, and I think I'll ask this question to Shilpa also. Now, alimony and support calculation. The court relied on guidelines such as income disparity, standard of living, expenses, and liabilities to decide the maintenance amount. Referencing Supreme Court's precedents in Rajneesh versus Neha and others. The question to you is from a financial planning lens. How should prospective maintenance or support be forecasted or built into budget planning? I mean, this question is more for Shilpa, but then let me start with you, because I'm sure when you're counseling such couples, you must be giving them a structure to work on or guidelines to work on.
Actually, I don't counsel couples. I only give advice
Sure.
to women. So women
Okay.
who have problems and come to me, and many times they're not aware of any of this. So my first task is to make them aware that these are some of the crucial aspects when they go through divorce, when they're thinking of divorce, to find out and to be able to put it on record, that for the court, to say that these are my expenses, this is where I need to be, and this is our financial plans, and this is where we have invested the money jointly or separately. This is our insurance, this is my expenses for my child, and not only today, but as Shilpa said, that even in future I'm likely to incur these expenses if she has the custody of the child. If she doesn't have the custody of the child, then it's a different matter. But mostly women do have custody of the child and they want to claim custody. Then in that case, they have to think about all this. Also, if she's not working and if she wants to start working now, her chances are very less. And she will she'll enter the job market at a very lower end. Even if she was holding a higher position before her marriage, after so many years out of the job market, she enters at a very low level. So I'm glad courts are taking note of this, because earlier courts were not taking cognizance of this, and they used to dismiss her claim because she's working now, but not taking not considering the income disparity. This judgment very clearly brought that out, that if there is income disparity, even if she's earning, she is entitled to maintenance.
Right. Same question to you, Shilpa, because forecasting or building the right kind of support system, and having all this thing planned into a budget. I don't know how one can do it, because no one wants to begin a relationship, with the thought that you will be divorced or there will be a separation. How do you factor in all this while you are in a marriage, Shilpa?
So, while you are in a marriage, I think it's very important that to not really think of yourself being financially prepared for a divorce, but being financially prepared for your own security and your own financial freedom. And when security is something we've talked about earlier today, the piece I want to focus on is freedom. And I think what's very important for the spouse who's slightly over reliant on the other spouse is to understand the importance of financial freedom and what that can buy you. So financial freedom is having enough money in your account, in your bank account today, to be able to exercise the choices you want, to be able to take the decisions that you want. It could be any life decision. So I would say that marriage, and when you're getting into financial planning, each of you needs to sit and think about what that security and freedom mean to you, and then start from that place, set that intention, and then work backwards. Kavita.
All right. I think this also gets me to the end of this discussion. Thank you so much, Savia and Shilpa, for being on the show and helping our viewers understand this very complex and something that's usually ignored aspect of financial planning. Thank you so much.